What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Mike LaBelle, and today, my friends, we're going to be reviewing, reacting, and analyzing Kurt's video, talking about FIFA 20 gameplay in depth. He went to Gamescom and grinded the title, and in my opinion, this is the best video that he has put out on his channel to date, where he goes into a lot of detailed information. He gives you logic. He transcends between FIFA installments, talks about what you can expect, applies his opinion in a very mature and professional way. I'm going to link his original video down below. It's about 23-24 minutes. But I'm going to do my best to condense what he had to say in that video into 5 segments and also apply my opinion. If you enjoy this type of conversation piece, make sure to drop a thumbs up and talk to me in the comments. Are you building some hype? Do you agree? Have you played the title? What videos have you consumed? We can discuss everything down below. We got our own little back and forth. This weekend is the Serie A. It's getting started, and you see me, Italian Football TV, the Calcio joint. Big shout out to IFTV. Marco and Mike, based out of Brooklyn. And I'll tell you off the rip, and you guys know I care about the fit. You got a long torso, you got some height to you, you're gonna like the shirts, man. They feel good, fit good. I'm 6'1", probably still around 200 pounds. Trying to come down a little bit, but I recommend the attire. That's what I'm saying. General attacking. Segment numero uno. We're talking about the pace of the game, passing, crossing, headers. All of that's going to fit into this category. Pace and tempo is similar to goalkeepers. No matter what EA does, people are going to love the pace and hate the pace. Some people want it slow, some people want it fast, maybe somewhere in between. It's all going to come down to the same word that I'm going to keep on repeat in this video: balance. Whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or advanced player, or even becoming a pro player, it's all gonna come down to balance. And the quicker the gameplay is typically going to increase the skill gap, and that's exactly what Kurt says. And that's because you have more that's based on reaction, who has better instincts. The more time you put into the game, you're able to apply maybe some of those benefits, some of the learning curve that you've introduced. It's a little more give and take, can be faster paced. You can dictate the pace if the pressure is higher up the pitch. If you're seeing the traps and the anticipation faster than your opposition, you're going to be rewarded. So the overall glimpse into pace of the game is, I think it's going to be subjective. But I will say this: if a FIFA installment is too slow, you can't create enough pressure. Remember, we're playing 6-minute halves, so we've kind of got to grab and go to a certain degree. And I was thinking to myself, if the gameplay is slow and the servers are slow, then your experience is going to be slow, guaranteed. However, if the gameplay is fast and the servers are slow, you still might get something that's a little more playable. And I run into major server issues. I think the majority of us can relate to having delay, unless maybe you live in Germany or you live in the UK. Those two countries, they've got a better ordeal. The servers are just really close to them. I've got 1,000 up, 1,000 down. My ping is always at 1. Thank you very much for Fios. And I'm still in delay easily 35 to 40% of my matches.
You know what my thoughts on it? I stand by it till the day I die. The quicker it is, the higher the skill gap, because the more reactive you have to be. And just in general, the game is more action-packed.
I noticed this when I played FIFA 20. If you have a fast player and he gets loose versus a slower midfielder or a slower defender, he's going to create space, he's going to gain, which is good. You need to have that separation. However, Kurt brings up an argument saying if it's a fast attacker versus a fast defender, that defender still has a recovery zone. Maybe that's a small patch. It's all about foundation here. If the foundation is good, you can introduce patches that do make minor tweaks that go a long way for everyone. In Kurt's video, he really doesn't dive deep into passing, crossing, headers. Just says that there's a little more error-prone passing, which is fine by me. We can work that out. You'll get used to it. That's not a big deal. Maybe even players with higher passing stats are actually going to receive a competitive advantage, and that the game is going to be played via your feet a lot more. So it's not going to be as much crossing, headers, maybe not as much YOLO-esque with the build-up play. Think about FIFA 19. You didn't need a midfield. You could go from defender to an outside attacker to a striker in the air constantly. It was way too much in the air. Between the flick up crosses, the El Tornadoes, just the setups for general volleys, it wasn't realistic. As someone who considers themselves a very logical thinker with FIFA, it was hard to adjust to FIFA 19. I didn't want to play with some of these flick ups. I wasn't looking to bypass the midfield in my build-up play. Moving on dribbling and skill moves. Kurt was saying the turns still aren't quick enough. Remember, Kurt's not a skill move junkie, so it is worth mentioning that he is going to have that type of subjective perspective that's even based more on the quickness of turns, because he's not looking to go into a bunch of skill combinations to attack space. With that being said, he was saying that a lot of 1v1s, you still can't win those battles because your opposition can contain and he mirrors your movements. I don't like that. That's a big problem. Not a big fan of that whatsoever. I'm gonna need you to have to take some chances. If I'm coming at you full steam ahead, I got someone like Mbappe, I got Cristiano Ronaldo, I need to be able to utilize some skills, put something on you. Even if I gotta mix you up with some simplicity, just change of direction, that's fine by me. A lot of the older FIFA installments had that. Kurt also brings up some concerns with the crab dribbling or the crab walking. If you go back to FIFA 17, where you could L2 R2 and you kind of had a slalom to the movement, I didn't really dislike it. I felt like even though it wasn't the most realistic, it allowed you to beat AI defending, find gaps, look for passes, create new angles, and there was a skill gap to learning how to use it properly. What's the defending procedure versus how easy is it to attack, or how difficult is it to attack? They have to match up properly.
And the skill moves. The skill moves. Obviously, there's a big debate, right? They are exactly, perfectly how they should be. I know there's a lot of people crying about it, but now, in my opinion, they take a hell of a lot more skill to do. Because now you have to time them, you have to use the right ones, you can't just do them aimlessly, you know, like it was, you can't combine them aimlessly.
I've played FIFA 20. My first impression of skills wasn't a negative. You could still do them. You're not going to chain lock croquetas the same way, which is fine. FIFA 19, we saw the introduction of a bunch of new skillers. Guys that weren't reactive, didn't know a bunch of skill moves, didn't know how to attack the space, how to take players on, didn't really understand risk to reward. They just knew this area of the pitch, you do this type of skill move. And that's really not what it's about. You're setting up skills to take on an opposition. You're setting up skill moves to attack space or to bait somebody into a manual step, to open up some new doors, to open up some windows for yourself. I could just keep that on repeat. And as someone who's always used skill moves heavily, and I use skill move runs as well, I got a mastery of being able to do those. It's not random. I'm not sitting here on the right analog stick just pushing buttons. I'm not abusing just one singular skill move. I've been using some of the classics like the ball roll drag back for a decade. That's not gonna go anywhere in FIFA 20. Overpowered features, which is basically looking at time finishing and goalkeeper movement, because in FIFA 19, you had to have them. They were mandatory, especially as you got to an intermediate or an advanced level. This has to be in your locker. Have they been toned down? Are they more properly balanced? Kurt seems to say, yeah. With time finishing in particular, you don't need to use it in the box, which I've always felt since the introduction of time finishing that it could have a place in FIFA, but FIFA 19, it wasn't done properly.
Time finishing, the mechanic they introduced last year, which single-handedly destroyed FIFA 19, right? Obviously, when I heard it was still in FIFA 20, I was worried because in my opinion, it should just be completely removed. But let me say this, they got it right. They got it where you do not feel like you have to hit the greens every time.
Especially not when you're adding in all the volleys and people timing headers and how it impacts matches, a green time finish. Especially from inside the box, it should be more about placement, repetition. Maybe you're taking a quick glance at the goalkeeper and then you know what you want to go with. But that's what finishing has always been about. I don't want to see another title where the majority of the goals feel like they come from outside the box, especially early on if you want to revert back to FIFA 19. Kurt makes an argument that finishing is still too inconsistent, especially when you're looking at the replays. You're aiming one way and it's going wide, or the accuracy's not there. We'll see when the full title drops, but he was saying finesse shots looking strong. Not a surprise. I saw the gameplay trailer. You saw the gameplay trailer. Everything was a finesse shot. He also said chip shots are back, and goalkeeper movement in general has been heavily reduced, which is fine. I think being able to move the goalkeeper slightly, not necessarily an issue, but what we saw last year where you could fake left, then go right, then come back left, all in one fluid movement with a goalkeeper is so far beyond realism, and it changes the game. It impacts the match so drastically time and time again. Free kicks, penalty kicks, I'm still looking forward to this change. I think penalty kicks in particular have gotten very boring. Last couple years, they feel like a rinse, wash, repeat. If you guess the right direction, you get it. There should be more to penalty kicks. Whether you can put it into the top corner, you put more power. I think it'll be more exciting,
personally.
but we'll see together exactly what EA has implemented. I know Kurt said he wants simplicity, that he was cool with the old school free kicks and penalties. Let's give it a little bit of time.
I understand it's gonna take time to get used to, but free kicks especially were so complicated, and penalties just, like, once again, you can still see what the player's looking at.
From experience, when EA introduces new features, they're typically overpowered. There might be a bit of a longer learning curve, and that's fine. I'm gonna put in the hours in FIFA 20. Drum roll, please! We have defending. And Kurt said this is the best that it's felt, or the best it's ever been.
Manual defending is the best it has ever been, for different reasons. Player switching, like in general, you have to select the player closest to the ball, right? That's how I've always said defending should be. The manual jockeying was very, very good. Like, it was almost to a degree of overpower, but I like it how, that's how it should be. And then there's the tackling. The new tackling system, when it works, it's beautiful. You time the tackle, you take it, and you keep going, right?
And that's how it should be. Is there still going to be some bounce back? Is there still going to be some RNG? Is there still going to be some luck? I'm sure of it. I'm sure that's not going anywhere. I've always felt the biggest skill gap in FIFA was when the game was a little bit more manual and it came down to the defensive side of everything. When you were stepping, offside traps, how you were lining up different strategies, whether you're being aggressive or you're being passive or you're mixing in between both of those. Just your overall anticipation and your structure as a defensive player. Whereas now, a good defensive player, we look at somebody that has parked the bus and is counterattacking, or is just chasing back midfielders time and time again, and it's more of a rinse, wash, repeat, and it's not visually stimulating. It's just not that fun. Last segment, we're looking at tactics, and Kurt talks about drop back. I personally didn't like any of the tactical adjustments that were made in FIFA 19. They just did too much for you. Whether that was a drop back or a constant pressure or even a team pressing, some of the quick tactics. And I think it was good that EA introduced the ability to switch formations and tactics on the fly, but it was mismanaged and it didn't have that skill gap. Players could click a button and their whole team would sit back and then counter, or their whole team would be the best at pressure play that you've ever seen, which doesn't make any logical sense. Not when you want ability to be a factor. Think about how many opponents you went up against in FIFA 19 where they were able to double team you. They got players moving all over the pitch, they're man marking, and they're not doing any of this manually. There is no teammate contain. They're not making tackles. They're not going for it. You don't see slides. None of the above. It's just a tactical adjustment where their players swarm you. And there's got to be a bigger skill set or more details that go into your tactical approach to playing the game. Just like in real life, if you're a manager, it's not as simple as saying, hey, you guys run forward, do that. You guys sit back, you got it. It's not. It's never going to be that. And you should be rewarded for understanding tactics better and then how to apply them and having that knowledge, having that criteria, that understanding from a tactical approach of what works versus what doesn't work. And I would like to see more formations used. Last year really became a wash of a lot of 4-2-3-1, maybe some 4-4-2, minor adjustments here and there. But for the general recap of the year, you could master one formation, 4-2-3-1, and you could play that formation in different tactical setups, but it would work versus every formation with a certain level of effectiveness. So that's my recap, my review, me analyzing what Kurt had to say and trying to condense it a little bit. And Kurt does say at the end of the video, and I think this is a really big statement that we should highlight. Overall, at the current state of FIFA 20, this is one of the best FIFA installments I've played. So that doesn't include any additional patches or changes, just what he played in Germany at Gamescom was one of the best FIFA installments up to date. That means the foundation is spot on according to Kurt, and he's also putting his name behind this being a good title, which says a lot in terms of his confidence and his experience with the game. So fingers crossed that EA doesn't make any drastic moves left or right, and we can build from this title and really prepare for not just a good year for Ultimate Team and head-to-head and Volta, but also going into the competitive scene and making sure that we have what feels like a true esport title And it's very challenging for EA Sports to make a game that's enjoyable, easy to watch, and has big skill gaps. You got to please a lot of people here. And if you go to Reddit or you're looking on social media, the disagreements between what a good title looks like, what an enjoyable game of FIFA looks like, it's all over the place. But I'll have a lot more content come for you ASAP. Remember to check out Kurt's original video and his channel. I'll put that down below. And then, of course, got the Calcio joints on. Peace.